Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to inspire a world where food makes us better. Happy Monday, everyone. Guys, I love Mondays. It's new day, new beginning, and I don't know about you, but I always have this feeling of this sense of new chance, like you can start something better with more knowledge, with more experience, with more zest, motivation, and energy, and to make something new happen. And even if it doesn't always succeed, we learn and we experience something new. So I love Mondays. But of course, for every Monday and to make something happen, we need energy, we need health. And this podcast hopefully is helping you to get more of that zest, energy, motivation that comes with increased levels of health and vitality that comes with better habits, including eating habits. And also that comes with feeling better in your body. A lot of people, guys, you might be including, might not be, maybe you have friends or family who are struggling with that issue. A lot of people are trying to lose or correct their weight in some form or the other, or improve the level of health they have. But with that, a lot of times we would improve our body composition, because a lot of times being overweight and obese comes from poor lifestyle that also brings different diseases or just robs us of our energy, right? So anyhow, guys, today we are talking again about weight loss, probably for the rest of this week, maybe even a couple of days more, because there are so many things that that either compromise our health and weight loss journey or add to it, add something positive to it. And there are ways to do it in a smart way and in not smart ways. So our podcast series are dedicated to smart weight loss that also gives us more health and more energy instead of just making us feel cranky and deprived and hungry. That can also be done. So there is a difference how we do it. So we already talked about sleep. We already talked about snacking and fasting. Today we are talking about what to actually do when we eat. Today we simply are talking about plate rule, how to assemble your meal to make sure that you are getting a lot of nutrition and also promoting maximum satiety, and so you don't feel that hungry. Also supplying all the nutrients that your body might need at any point. But also, if you have a goal to lose weight, like how do you assemble your every plate, your every meal? How do you make sure that you are making progress towards weight loss goal, but you aren't obsessed with calories or carbohydrates or fats or proteins, that you actually are also able to live your life without all this complexity? This complexity, you or other people, we can do that for a while, like track calories or nutrients, but at a certain point it becomes really like time and energy consuming, and also this mental fatigue. We already have so many decisions we gotta make, so now on top of that we gotta like find a way to count every bite of food we put in our mouth. That's just undoable for most of us, me including, no matter how obsessed I am with nutrition as a coach and just someone who loves that stuff, right? I would go crazy if I had to like count every calorie and macronutrient. And yeah, so I'm all about simplifying those things. So whenever we eat, we usually have a plate, or maybe, some sort of dish. And I do highly recommend you, so you could track somehow the amount of food you eat, to have a standard plate, or figure out the size of the plate that you can find in your house and also outside your house. Maybe you have your lunch at work or at some place else, and usually most of the plates are kind of like standard edition, maybe, bigger or smaller a little bit, but you can eyeball that at least. And so you have your plate, and for each plate, I recommend from the best practices and what works for nutrient density, meaning how many nutrients you're getting, how rich in nutrients like vitamins and minerals your food is, and also how much satiety it provides and how effective it is for weight loss. So those are my recommendations, right? So you have a plate. So half of that plate should always be some non-starchy, colorful, and especially green vegetables. Non-starchy meaning non-potatoes, nothing, no sweet potatoes, no yams, no tubers of any kind. So no, beans or grains. So non-starchy vegetables, those would be your like salad greens or Swiss chard or kale, but also things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, mushrooms, bell peppers, or tomatoes, even though they are fruit, but we consider them vegetables. So half of your plate should be that, and they should be unrefined, meaning when I'm talking about tomatoes, they shouldn't be in a sauce in a form of tomato sauce, right? Those should be tomatoes with fiber and everything intact. So they can be raw, any form of salad, they can be cooked, but I highly recommend you to either have half of your plate occupied by those non-starchy vegetables, cooked or raw, or you have a huge bowl of that salad plus those non-starchy vegetables, but a lot of vegetables. That's how we should begin each of our meals if we want to promote maximum nutrients, maximum satiety, at the same time allowing us to lose weight without having to think about that. And guys, that really works. Eating your vegetables, a lot of vegetables at the beginning of every of your meal, like you'll feel full, but you will automatically eat less. That's why it's so important for weight loss to eat a lot of non-starchy, low-sugar vegetables. Plus, they're so rich in vitamins and minerals compared to the caloric density of them that, again, you'll be automatically getting a lot of nutrition, but at the same time, guys, you won't be getting a lot of calories. And that's important when we are trying to lose or maintain weight on autopilot. For me, it's so easy to stay lean because I follow this rule. I always eat a lot of vegetables. Sometimes for me, it feels like, no kidding, when I begin my meal, I'm like, boy, so much food. Do I really need to eat all of these vegetables? And it feels like work. And it's so much harder to overeat when we start every meal with a lot of vegetables. And also, guys, it will make your stomach, your gut work harder, and your gut will be literally fitter and stronger from digesting all these unrefined foods. And your gut health will improve. Also, guys, when we start our meals with a lot of non-starchy vegetables and a lot of fiber, it is proven that our blood glucose response will be much better. So even if at the end of this meal, you're going to eat something more carbohydrate rich, like maybe sweet potatoes or maybe rice or maybe, quinoa or buckwheat or some beans, our blood sugar response will be much lower, mostly because of the mechanical side of our digestion, basically meaning that our body has to digest all that fiber first to get all the nutrients, and it slows down our digestion and nutrient absorption. And so if you're someone who is having troubles with blood sugar regulation, that will also help you with that, starting every and each of your meals with a lot of whole cooked or raw vegetables. So that's an amazing rule. If you are using one on your plate, but just remember, half of your meal in volume going to be non-starchy green and colorful vegetables, raw or cooked, or maybe just always eat big bowl of salad. And yes, even for breakfast, guys, if you are a breakfast person, start it with veggies too. So maybe cook them, maybe, prepare them, maybe make them into some vegetable sticks that you prepare the day before, but always start with vegetables, half of your meal. And then the rest of your food, the other half, so half of that half or quarter of your meal should be your protein-rich foods. And I'm talking about omnivores, today, guys. So vegetarians and vegans, find some other protein-rich source. Omnivore diet is confirmed to be, by most of the studies and research we have, omnivore diet will always provide the most nutrients when done right. So that's what I'm personally promoting, unless you have, unless you have really, really, really good reason to eliminate the whole animal food group. I do not recommend you to go vegan, for example, for many reasons, health reasons. Anyhow, guys, so a quarter of your plate is protein-rich foods. Protein is important. It's the most satiating nutrient, meaning it makes us it keeps us full for longer. We need proteins for almost every reaction in our body. Like, we constantly need protein to build something or to do something. So proteins, we need them. So quarter of your meal, somewhere in that range, should be your protein. And that can be seafood, that can be for about 150 grams if we are talking about some sort of seafood or meat or fish or poultry, or maybe pork, maybe three, four eggs, whole eggs. It's an important also, subject, guys. Don't skip the yolk. Don't skip the white unless you have allergies. So 3-4 eggs, 150 grams of protein-rich foods, that should be a quarter of your meal. And then the other quarter, if you can either add more vegetables, or you can eat something like beans or pulses properly cooked, or maybe sweet potato, or what else? Maybe some whole grains, maybe quinoa, like unrefined, no pasta. I'm talking about a concept of smart weight loss. So everything should be whole, and that makes a difference, guys. So sweet potato, whole grains, what else? Again, beans, pulses, and that's about it. So half of our plate, half of our meal, non-starchy vegetables. If you decide to go a little bit beyond and you want to lower your carbohydrates and you want to lose a little bit more weight, that will help with that, then maybe make half and 1/4 of your plate of your meal vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. And then don't skip your protein. Not necessarily lean at all. We need fats for different functions in our body to create hormones and to create membranes of our cells. So don't ever go like fat-free or low fat. That is a disaster long-term health and weight. So 150 grams real food. I suggest you measure it once and then kind of know what it looks like. So 150 grams or maybe 200 grams, depending on how big of a person you are, how active you are. And then if you decide to eat more carbohydrates, then eat beans or pulses, maybe lentils, maybe kidney beans, maybe white beans, maybe red-eyed peas, or black-eyed peas, not red-eyed peas. So that should be another quarter, or maybe less, maybe like the size of a bigger sweet potato. That's the amount of carbohydrate-rich foods you'd like to have. And there is nothing wrong with fiber and carbohydrate-rich foods, guys. It just, some people do better on lowering those carbohydrates. I love my carbohydrates. I usually, though, prefer to eat my fruit, and on some days eat more starch, on some days eat less starch. Anyhow, guys, so stick to whole foods, half of your plate vegetables, quarter of your plate protein, quarter carbohydrate-rich foods, whole food. And then on top of them, depending where you are with your weight loss journey, like how many calories you want to add on top of that, I suggest to add maybe one more serving of fat-rich food, because again, fat is important and is also very satiating. But here, is my best advice. Stick to whole food fats most of the time, or olive oil, or also coconut oil is quite great too. But I recommend to have probably a mix of them and focusing on whole foods, meaning so per each of your meal, maybe have half an avocado, or an ounce of nuts and seeds, or maybe an ounce of chocolate, dark chocolate. I recommend to go with the darkest one, or maybe 1 tablespoon of olive or coconut oil. Just make sure that you measure those fat-rich foods, because calories in those foods accumulate really fast. We don't want to go fat-free, but if we want to see progress, we need to be able to measure what we eat. And using our plate and using those guidelines for additional servings of fat, it's a great system to measure the amount of food we eat without having to count calories. And so when you want to eat different foods, of course, we all want to eat different foods, then what you do is you just substitute one food in that food group for another food. So for example, one day you're having broccoli for your vegetables, the other day you're having spinach, the other day you're having Brussels sprouts, right? And then for your protein, one meal you're having 3 eggs, the other some fish, then maybe some poultry. And for your carbohydrate-rich foods, you might have some sweet potato, you might skip it for one of the meals. I recommend, especially for the last meal of the day, like for dinner, would be a great idea to load up on vegetables instead of starch. Variety, guys, is the key to make sure that you are getting a variety of different nutrients. The other key, stick to whole foods, again, so they look like whole foods, not some refined stuff, not smoothies, not juices, not powders, not extracts, not pasta, not anything made into powder. If you eat grains, then eat only whole grains. If you eat your fruit, then only eat a piece of fruit per meal. And I suggest at the beginning of the meal to prevent digestive issues. And so variety, whole foods, and measuring those additional fat items and making sure that you aren't eating a lot of them, because calories do accumulate. So again, maybe 1 ounce of cheese, maybe 1 ounce of dark chocolate, maybe 1 ounce of nuts and seeds, maybe half of a smaller avocado, because some avocados are huge like your head. So if you eat half of that, it's like a lot of calories, and you might kill all the caloric deficit that is needed to lose weight usually. And it is much easier to stay in a slight caloric deficit than working your ass off, right? And feeling exhausted and tired. That can actually increase the appetite. What else? I have a few notes here. Another way to measure your calories, your food intake better, you might want to skip one meal and have the rest of your meals exactly as they are, meaning healthy, but the portions are quite good. You might use smaller plates instead of trying to cut the portions of different foods. Another tip, guys, never cut the protein. Like, that is essential for satiety. And I recommend never cut the protein, never cut the veggies. If you want to accelerate your weight loss, eliminate those additional fat foods. 1 serving, maybe 1-2 servings of fat per day, or those carbohydrate-rich foods. Make them smaller, not your vegetables, not your protein, not a good idea. When traveling or eating out, stick with foods that seem to not have sauces, dressings, fats. Stick with grilled, with steamed, and ask for some olive or coconut oil on the side so you can measure yourself and put it on top. Even though it is hard to find foods that are not cooked in any oil or fat or with added sugars, but try, guys, or at least maybe try telling your server that you are, trying to do this thing and this weight loss thing, and you are counting your calories. So whatever they can recommend to you to consume the less, don't be afraid to ask people, like, what is the most weight loss friendly thing? And I recommend to stick with vegetables and proteins with no sauces, no dressings, and then maybe adding half an avocado from the menu, or adding some olive oil on the side, right? So use those tricks to not consume undesired calories. And whenever you travel, like for example, I'm traveling right now, just make sure to have good meals, guys. That way you will avoid unnecessary snacking that you might want to do, especially when you're traveling maybe for business and you're under more stress than usual and it's a unfamiliar environment. And it is so easy to fall into a habit of mindless snacking or eating whatever, whenever. So that's why it's important to have your rules and to have your meals on time. That's why I rent an apartment whenever I can, when I travel, so I can cook good, hearty, nutritious meals and can control my food intake much, much better. And that allows me to not just maintain my weight during travels, but also lose weight. That's what I usually do, lose weight, because I just do so many more things at the same time cooking my meals. Anyhow, guys, so let's recap. If you are losing weight and you need to manage and cut the amount of food you are consuming, and you don't want to count calories and macros and carbohydrates, then use this simple plate rule. Just get a plate, no matter where you eat. Cover this half of that plate in non-starchy vegetables, green and colorful, cooked and raw. Quarter of that plate, protein-rich food like meat, poultry, fish, pork, 3 eggs. Quarter of that food, put some carbohydrate-rich foods there, like grains or beans or pulses, or maybe sweet potato. Maybe add a serving of fat. Fats are good for us, are essential for life. Maybe an ounce of nuts and seeds, half an avocado, an ounce of cheese or chocolate, depending what your diet preferences are. What are your diet preferences? And what else? Skip snacking. Make sure that you're focusing on whole foods, not some juices, extracts, or smoothies. If you need to further cut your calories for maybe, a couple of days, maybe few days a week, maybe for a week, skip one meal or use smaller plates, or maybe skip that additional portion of added fats. And also, guys, for the best blood sugar balance, studies prove it's great, as we discussed at the beginning of the episode, to eat your food, your meal in that sequence, in the following sequence. Start with non-starchy vegetables, followed by protein and fat-rich foods, and then finish it with your carbohydrate-rich foods. Although fruit for better digestion should come at the beginning of your meal, not fruit juice or smoothie, but actual whole fruit. And that should help you to maintain great blood sugar response. And if you do a short walk, 15-20 minutes after your meal, that's going to further help you to balance your blood sugar response. That will also help you with your weight loss and your hunger management. So that's it for today, guys. This is really simple. And the reason why a lot of people fail to do it, because it takes practice to make it your habit. Once you make it your habit, and once you stop listening to all this marketing and advertising about snacking, once you understand the power of simple meals, it is easy. And just add variety for maximum nutrition, and you'll be able to maintain and lose weight effortlessly, guys. It's not difficult. It really is not, but it takes consistency. So follow plate rule, share this plate rule. If you have any specific questions specific to your situation, feel free to reach out on any social media. I'm more than happy to help you with any of your concerns or questions. Follow my Instagram. The link is in the show notes to see what kind of meals I'm having. I'm like one meal a day kind of person, but you'll still see that I eat a lot of vegetables and protein there with fat, of course. And that's about it. I barely, if ever, snack. And that's the power of that plate rule. Because with snacking, no matter how good, that snack is, comes more calories. Anyhow, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Start maybe for this week, practice your plate rule for each of your meals. Stop snacking and see what happens, and let me know. Share this episode with one another person with whom maybe you take a challenge and you practice a plate rule for every day of this week, and then see the results. What do you think? I think that can be a great experiment, a fun thing to do with someone that you share interest in healthier eating, and maybe with someone who also needs to lose weight. So share this episode, practice plate rule, share a plate rule with a lot of people. And guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Have an awesome Monday. Have an awesome week. And as usual, till next time, eat better daily.